Hello and welcome. We live in very interesting times, do we not? You may have seen the video that I posted recently in which I suggested that Keir Starmer had, in essence, ordered a code red, inverted commas, again, Ollie Robbins, meaning that Ollie Robbins had to be a scapegoat, one of several recent scapegoats. But you won't find anything written down. I was alluding to the film A Few Good Men. Here's a quick snippet from that previous video. Did Keir Starmer order a code red? What do I mean by that? Well, if you've seen the film A Few Good Men, you'll understand what I'm talking about. A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise, Kevin Bacon, Demi Moore. Now, it turns out I wasn't the only one who saw a correlation between Keir's leadership style, the way he runs his fiefdom, and that movie. In fact, I think this video was posted a little after mine, but I'm pretty sure that the person speaking didn't see my video and I only saw theirs yesterday. But this is Dr. Luke Evans, Conservative MP, making similar points.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. And the court case goes quiet. Those are the immortal words in the famous film A Few Good Men. That's the realisation in that court case that things have moved from process to accountability and responsibility. If you haven't seen the film, it's about two Marines who are on trial for killing another. But the real story that unravels is whether command can deny any responsibility of the actions that it set in motion.
And what he's getting at is that, of course, Keir doesn't seem to be able to take any responsibility. I believe also that Luke used the word process as a bit of a dig towards Starmer, who, let's face it, behaves like a very, very, very poor middle manager, unable to leave the tram lines unless the process says he can do it. And that process thinking will stand them in good stead, certainly at the moment, picking through who said what, when and why, and making sure it's all written down. My point is that it wouldn't be written down. I think Luke Evans is also making the point that Starmer needs to take responsibility. Absolutely. How many times have you heard him say, I apologise to the victims, I take full responsibility? That kind of implies you should resign. Take full responsibility by blaming other people? I don't think that's quite how it's meant to work, Keir. Anyway, the other thing that I was getting at in my previous video was that none of this stuff will be written down. You see, Keir will make sure he has a paper trail, but he will also make sure there is no paper trail for that which he wants to distance himself from. That is, any conversation or pressure put upon Ollie Robbins. So let's begin here. Thanks to the Cabinet Office decision to publish a template of the file online, we now know it uses an easy to understand traffic light system. This is the vetting file. There is a space for a vetting officer to mark their overall decision or recommendation. They have three options: green, clearance approved; amber, clearance approved with risk management in place; or red, clearance denied. Okay, fair enough. And this is what Keir Starmer's been talking about. That apparently is the file, that's how it's done, but obviously there's going to be more than that. A lot of people are involved in this. And as Ollie Robbins has been pointing out, there are subtleties and nuances and a lot to weigh up and consider when making these decisions. That's the point of it. But we'll crack on. Downing Street, the Cabinet Office and The Guardian have all made clear the vetting officer in Medlinngson's case chose the third option. That seems to be absolutely true. According to the BBC, the night before Robbins gave evidence, MPs on the committee were given an in-person briefing with senior officials in the Cabinet Office to clarify this point. They came away with a clear impression that UKSV gave Medlinngson a tick in the red box. The point was hammered home at the House of Commons dispatch box on Wednesday when Starmer said the vetting agency recommended with red flags that Mandelson's clearance be denied. But that was kept from Keir. Now, what seems to be happening is that the detail of that was kept from Keir Starmer because, well, security. People don't want to give too much information out. And unfortunately, in getting to the bottom of the Mandelson affair or affairs, it's all over the press. And I doubt that a lot of people are happy about that because there are eyes upon the country who are not friendly. Anyway, this part, yet Robbins gave a markedly different account. The day after the vetting file was completed and amid pressure, this is important, that word pressure, we'll come back to it, to get Mandelson in post, Robbins met the Foreign Office's Director of Security, Ian Collard, to be briefed on UKSV's findings. Robbins, by his own admission, did not see the vetting file, which he described as sitting in a hermetically sealed box, and relied entirely on Collard's oral briefing. Now, I think one of the keys to understanding what Ollie Robbins was attempting to do is to factor in the pressure that he was under. For example, this headline here, Ollie Robbins piles pressure on PM amid claims number 10 said just effing approve. That has been attributed to, allegedly, Morgan McSweeney. But it could have been any of them. But it gives a flavour, a hint, the type of messaging that he was receiving. So what has Ollie Robbins done? He's not seen the actual file. He's had the briefing, which, according to him, and I want to quote another part here, according to Robbins, Collard informed him that UKSV considered Mandelson a borderline case, leaning towards denial, but indicating the Foreign Office may wish to grant clearance with mitigations. This account starkly contrasts with official reports that UKSV explicitly recommended denial. So what I think we're seeing here is that Keir Starmer was desperate for Mandelson to be cleared, to be in that position. And I think we're also then seeing a situation where Ollie Robbins was put under immense pressure indeed. And amidst all of that, within the belly of the crucible, Ollie Robbins made the decision to help, he thought, the Prime Minister, but based on the oral briefing that he had and knowing a bit about what it said in the file, but without seeing it, that this was a risk that could be managed. But now, because there's more and more coming out about Peter Mandelson, Keir Starmer has, of course, got to distance himself. And he can, kind of, because there's no paper trail, because it's a code red, because it's the culture, because it was done on a nod, a wink, or even not saying anything. I don't see how we can survive this, particularly when, well, some news kind of just in, it would seem that Keir himself may have misled the House.
Let's be absolutely clear, before Mandelson took up his post, UKSV recommended with red flags that clearance should be denied, and there was high concern that was not brought to my attention or the attention of the Foreign Secretary at the time or subsequently is a very serious error of judgment, and anyone in my position would have lost confidence in the former Permanent Secretary.
A minister told me what they said was there is a bit of a panic on in number 10 this evening because there's now a feeling that Keir Starmer actually misled the House in one of the answers he gave to Kemi Badenoch. So if you go back and check the transcript, it's at the point where he was talking about the fact that whether pressure had been put on Ollie Robbins. Now, the way it was described to me was that Starmer diverted from his briefing book and came out with a statement which says absolutely no pressure whatsoever had been put on Ollie Robbins or any other civil servants. And the people raising concerns are right. It's impossible to square what Starmer said with what Robbins said.
My office, the Foreign Secretary's office, were under constant pressure. There was an atmosphere of constant chasing. When will this?
Daily phone calls.
I couldn't say for certain daily, but I mean certainly very frequent, from private office to private office. Has this been delivered yet? Never any interest, as far as I recall, in whether, but only an interest in when.
What do you think about that?